Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, okay, it's on. All right. What's up? This is DJ Trippy. No, just kidding. No, I'm kidding. This is Trip Ellison coming with my second MSR for the DSF Noctua. All things looking good. We've got crew assembled. Let me check over the personnel. Security Zang. Tom. Hey, Mike. Mike, I got Tom here. Is this Tom? Is this the Tom you were telling me about? He's captaining my next mission, man. That's Tom. That's the guy. All right. Hey, how old is he? Looks like he's about 15. No, I get it, man. No, I get it. All right. Man, if only we could all be so lucky. All right, so we've got a crew together. They look like some decent folk. We got some experience. We got some inexperience, and got a mission now starting to come in. And, oh, man. All right. Well, you hate to see that, especially for their first mission, but, man, that's why, you know what I always say, YOLO. So, well, I'm sure they'll be in capable hands. Sure, Tom. I'm sure Tom's got it. What was that? Tom doesn't have it? No? All right. Well, we'll have to see how it goes. Hopefully he does, man. Hopefully he does. It's fucking Mike. Oh, man, Mike always busting balls. So, yeah, so we're going to get the crew up and running. Looks like they're going to stop on board the Hamilton station, get some extra supplies for the mission, and they should be ready to embark. And we'll continue this MSR when the next check-in occurs. So I guess that's it. All right. I feel like I screwed this up last time. I think that's right. Man. Mike. Mike from Acquisition. Douchebag. Wait, what's that red? Ah, fuck.
Diane, I'm listening to a podcast, Black Lodge Trivia Night. I've never heard so many game aspirations in my life.
All right, welcome back to Black Lodge Trivia Night. This is Art, once again down to Matt and Patrick. So we'll be taking some hostile solo through its paces today. Matt and Patrick they spent the 4th of July in Rhode Island with Tay and Travis. I like Rhode Island. I like fireworks. Would have been nice to have been invited, but again, I was not. So here we are, getting the chance to put solo through its paces. Now, remember last time we did a session 0, and there were some things that still needed to be worked out off camera. I hope I did them. I hope I got things sort of finalized and ready to go, and we'll see how it goes. Again, I've never run this before. I've read the rules a few times. I'm very excited to see how this goes, but I think it's going to be a little bit bumpy, as it always is. So, first things first, just a quick recap. We had the shoe, which is the DSF Noctua, which is the Deep Space Freighter Noctua. Let's bring that up. I probably should have put in the stats. I did not. So, that's something at some point I'll probably have to do. And then the other thing that we had was our crew. Why am I not able to... Oh, there we go. The other thing we had was our crew. And if you remember, I basically sort of rolled up some jobs, and then I was going to figure out the details later. And I did. So let's introduce our crew. We've got Abby Brown, Doc Brown, if you will. Adaya is the engineer. Bring them up. Here's Doc Brown. Remember, she was like an older, little wiser doctor. Optimistic and determined was her psych evaluation, so that's good. Glass half full. Adaya Kande is the engineer. Her psych profile was that she talks tough but is scared inside. Delios 11, Del, is our sensor operator, and if you remember, is an android. He's a TDC Android 70 series, always thinking the company is good at the expense of all else. Androids have core programming that forbids them from doing harm to humans, unless. The androids have core programming that is something that's specifically mentioned in the rules, not in maybe that exact language. They're sort of like protocols. It's sort of like I think it was like the Isaac Asimov kind of protocols, but I added the unless ... for sexy results. So that's the sensor operator. Delios goes by Del. Got Jean-Michel Sanon, the pilot, JM. Let's see what we've got about him. Sensible, doesn't take risks. That makes sense for the pilot, right? Former career as a survey scout. We've got Olivia Rubio. She's the navigator. Comically pessimistic and paranoid. I'll have to remember that. See if I can have some fun with that. We've got the captain, Tom Hunter. Got a strong jawline for a name. And I remember that, yeah, he rolled up very young, easygoing and always relaxed, right? He's too young to be in this position, so I added that there was nepotism. And the only reason why I said too young to be in this position was his age roll was low, but I was rolling for the captain, so I had to try and figure out why. And then finally we've got, I don't know how to say this, Shang Mei. Mei is the security officer. She's basically not what you would expect. So she's going to be, a little, she's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime walking into the room like a classic bouncer. She's a little smaller, agile, quick. Her psych evaluation is grim and quiet, and actions speak for them instead of words. And you can see she's a former Marine sergeant. So that's who we're going to be running through this with. That's our crew. The DSF Noctua is the ship. I'll show you the ship now. Because you remember the ship... Maybe did I put it here? Yeah. Remember I was showing you how you draw the schematics with the dots and the lines connecting the dots? So let's take a look at the ship itself. The DSF Noctua is a 3-deck ship. I think it's deck 1, main deck 2, bottom deck 3. So I guess the shuttle hangars on top. It doesn't really matter. But this gives you an idea of how things work. So you can sort of see elevator, 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 elevator. So you can see how what I was trying to say, you line stuff up. Top deck, we got a shuttle hangar, an airlock to get in and out of the ship, the elevator, the drives. I think this is also, I don't know what this is. I forgot to put that there. That might be another airlock, because that's an airlock. I don't know. I'll figure that out. Second deck is the main, deck, bridge. We got a meeting room, whatever. We'll call it whatever. Med bay, hypersleep. And then on the bottom deck, we've got crew quarters, cargo, and sort of engineering parts, stuff like that. So this is what we're working with for the DSF Noctua. Just so you have an idea. If we need detail, this is what we'll go to. So there we go. We're going to start... I don't know what I'm doing. We're going to start on board... Where would this happen? Let's start on board the bridge. Tom Hunter. And, Tom Hunter is... we need somewhere where they... No, let's have it in the, galley. Tom Hunter, let's say, is sort of... the Noctua is sort of just going through last checks. It's just sort of... the last stages of prep. So the crew, they're in station. I guess we got to figure out where in station. I don't think I figured out where to go, where to start. What we need is a B level. We're going to start in the core world. So let me bring that up. And we need at least a B level station. So we're going to go to the near Earth zone. Let's start there. And we need at least a B. Okay, so you can sort of see there's these graphics here. What I ended up doing as part of the prep is I made notes for each section so I could kind of get some basics. Problem is, of course, they cover stuff up, so it's going to be a little annoying going back and forth. So there you go. There's only so small that you can make the graphics on the map, and then I didn't want to put it off to the side because I was never quite sure what I was covering up. So we need at least a B. We got Tau Ceti, Defiance, Hamilton. I'm gonna pick Hamilton. And my reasons are selfish. Okay, so we're going to start at Hamilton. Hamilton College, class of 97. Go Cons. Okay. We're going to start on Hamilton. So Hamilton is non-industrial agricultural garden. Like many planets orbiting red dwarf stars, Hamilton is tidally locked, with one hemisphere in perpetual sunshine while its other sits permanently in darkness. Hamilton occupies the very outer edge of Ross 248's habitable zone. It's a glaciated world, a world in decline. Tectonic activity stopped approximately 800 million years ago, and without volcanoes to outgas carbon dioxide, the atmosphere lost its ability to equalize the greenhouse effect. There was no warming within the atmosphere. An ice formation led to Hamilton's albedo factor, the amount of light it reflects back into space, to increase, and it's accelerating. Vast forests and plains filled with native plant life and the exotic alien creatures which fed upon it are wiped out. Almost. Whilst vast ice sheets dominate the lowlands and frozen oceans, and glaciers crawl slowly out of the mountain ranges, the center of the bright side is notable for a small region of tundra, cold and ravaged by intermittent blizzards, but not yet frozen. Here, remnants of Hamilton's abundant life eke out a treacherous and chilly existence. Okay. Development. Oil drillers from Earth also exist in this harsh environment. The vast forests, long dead and fossilized beneath the ice sheets, are now a petroleum resource to be drilled, extracted, and shipped back to Earth. More than 1 million people, mainly from the USA, Canada, and Venezuela, live and work there. A mass linear accelerator in constant use catapults tanks filled with crude oil into orbit, where orbital tugs rendezvous with them and haul them to massive oil tanking space station and geostationary orbit. Okay, so that's what we've got. We've got a geostationary orbit, space station, and geostation. Got a space station in geostationary orbit. That's what I'm trying to say. It seems like the main resource of this planet is petroleum. The space station is basically petroleum distribution point. One other thing you can see here, these are like the typical codes you get in a Traveler style game. I finally figured out how to use the translator. So if I put that in, it's going to spit this up. Starport type, good quality, refined, it's going to tell you all the details. Unfortunately, I'm not able to copy and paste this information into this panel. But so I'll have to run the codes every time. For those who are curious about how the module works, what I had to do is you have to import the tables from the compendium into the game proper, and then this macro works. So that was the trick. Sometimes you can just run them from the compendiums, and it's not a big deal. But in this case, you have to import the compendiums in, and then you're good to go. So we'll have this information whenever we need it. Whenever we need to drop a code in, it'll translate it. But it's not something I'll be able to then lock in. I'll have to do it every time because I won't remember. So there we go. So we've got 40% water, thin breathable atmosphere, diameter of 8,000 kilometers, 0.45 Gs for the gravity. So, about half the gravity of Earth. Millions of inhabitants. Yeah, I guess it said there's a sort of 1 million in that sort of center area. Government's an impersonal bureaucracy. Law levels. Seems a little low law level, right? But there we go. So we're going to start there at Hamilton. And like I said, I should be adding these to the list here, but let me see if I can do that real quick. Basics. All players, call this near Earth Zone. Hopefully that keeps it in the list. So let's go back to the galley. And like I said, we've got Tom here, Tom Hunter. Excuse me, that's Captain Tom Hunter. We got Captain Tom Hunter here in the galley, and he's so this is one of the things they added in version 13 is like auto direction when you move your. Here, I'll show you. When you move your. So if we were using like a top-down icon, this would make a lot more sense. For what we're doing, it doesn't make any sense at all. What you have to do is you have to go to the prototype token, and you can lock. You can do a lot of different things now. You can like append incrementing numbers, so you don't really need the name generator module anymore. I forget where you can lock in the rotation. You can randomize images if you want to make like Goblin 1, Goblin 2, Goblin 3. Lock artwork rotation is right there. We're going to update token. Now, I don't know if I need to, bring him back out, and then it should be okay. There you go. So we've got Captain Tom Hunter. He's in the galley, and he's sort of, maybe he's got like his data pad in front of him, or he's got some terminal, because again, it's supposed to be like 1970s alien sort of technology. And he's looking at, his crew list in front of him. And he's, maybe every once in a while getting distracted, staring out down to the planet surface of Hamilton. He's watching sort of the petroleum shipments come up from the surface. Maybe he's watching other shipments go back down if there's like food, other supplies that they're importing. And he's looking over his crew because he's nervous. He's nervous. Yeah, he's going to be nervous. There's no getting around that. Because he feels like he has to earn respect. He knows that he's one of the younger captains to ever be given a charge in the Leyland Okuda organization. He knows it was a favor called in through his family, so he understands that he was kind of handed this, but goddammit, he feels like he's going to prove them right. Like, yes, maybe I was yeah, sure, maybe it was nepotism, but that doesn't mean he can't do the job. This is what I mean. Like, there's little things I'm going to realize I'm going to need here and there. So these are all the different settings. These are the main conglomerates. I've got the criminal organizations. I just want to say one of the criminal organizations is called Lebkuchen, which is like gingerbread. I don't know if it's literally gingerbread men. My wife's family is German, and every Christmas we are swamped with Lebkuchen production to distribute them to various family members. So I thought this was endearing that it was called Lebkuchen. Got key corporations. These are not as big as conglomerates, but they're still important. One of them is Transdyne Cyber Systems, TDC. If you remember seeing Delios 11 Dell, he is a TDC Android 70 series. That TDC is Transdyne Cyber Systems. So we're just, at some point I'm going to start realizing, what, I need to like figure this out. Like, I need to maybe put these people here so I don't need to constantly go back and forth. Anyway, let me just see how this works in a second. Yeah, cool. Okay. So we've got Tom Hunter sitting here going over his crew, and also sort of having that internal monologue where he's self-doubting. He's trying to figure out how to take the first steps, trying not to get overwhelmed by what he's taken on. Anyway. Yeah, okay, so this does work. Token name, I'm going to say Tom Hunter. Hovered by anyone. Now, can I drag this from here? No. Okay. So we're going to get Tom Hunter back on the ship. So yeah, he's trying to do due diligence. He's trying to like get a jump on the job, and the nagging voices keep distracting him, and that's what keeps sending his look out the window. And he takes some comfort in sort of the repetitive nature of the cargo going back and forth to the surface of Hamilton. And after a minute later, like the door goes, whoosh, you know, and it announces like it's about to open. It opens, and in walks in May. Security. Oop, that didn't work. Let's try that again. In walks May. Let's get her prototype token correctly. Zhang, okay. Zhang Mei, hovered by anyone. Update token. So she's coming in. And did I lock her token? I did. Okay, sometimes I miss steps with certain people. Now, I don't know why it's not letting me. I'm going to reload application because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why it's not letting me bring her back onto the list. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, why can't I just drag her? Okay, whatever. So Zhang Mei shows up. So Mei shows up. And, so there, maybe Tom sort of gestures to the seat, and Zhang and Mei is, because again, last name comes first, it's Mei. She's grim and quiet, actions speak for them. So, and Tom is easygoing and always relaxed, right? So he tries to put on that front. He's not really, right? He's just going through self-doubt. And Mei walks in. And yeah, and without saying a word, she takes a seat. And I should just make these their first name or their nicknames. Mei takes a seat. And Tom sort of cracks sort of that half smile, like, hey, we're all friends here, right? And he's looking at her, and he kind of looks over to the screen and takes one more perusal at maybe her information, her background information real quick. And let's do our first roll. So one of the things you can do in this game, this game has oracles, this game has random tables to put together verbs, to put together adjectives and nouns so that you can get inspired. It has things like that. But what I like about it, and what it separated it from the others for me a little bit, is that there's some tools here that are meant to handle working with an entire crew. Again, we're not just playing one character. I was reading game I sort of had pop up on my radar a little bit more in terms of my nightstand reading is the new edition of Mothership. And Mothership, I believe, does have solo systems, but again, they're focused on one character, and then, I don't exactly know what else happens, but this game is designed to let you have a crew working together where you're not really playing one person. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our first roll, and what that's going to be is a relationship table. Now, the relationship table, I'll see if I can pop it up, is just a bunch of different motivations that can happen. What I'm going to do here is this is Tom's scene, so the role is going to apply to him. All right, so it's going to be this relationship between them from his perspective. And if it's anything like they're married or they're divorced, I'm not taking those. These people, I'm not going to say they don't know each other in some capacity, but none of them are going to be that intimately connected yet. Maybe someday they get married, but not yet. So let's see what this relationship table offers. Can I roll from the table? You can. In there's a Foundry module that lets you roll from the tables. I can't get it to work in version 13. I thought it said it did work, but anyway, so let's roll. Raw results. Sexual partner. I will take that. Not married, not divorced, but at some point, they hooked up. Now, the question is, we're going to do a yes-no question. Now, yes-no is just a very, what are these? Okay, this is just if you need general motivations. Got it. A yes-no question is just a D6. 1, 2, 3, yes. 4, 5, 6, no. And you can shift those if you need to. Like if you want it to be a little more likely, just change the numbers. But we're going to make it a 50-50. Was it recent? And the answer is no. So maybe maybe May was doing some kind of like have they known each other for a while? 1, yes. Everything else, no. No. Okay. So it's not like they went back to being like, you know, the girl next door kind of thing. So let's just say back on Earth, you know, maybe May was home for some like retraining or some kind of R&R or something. And maybe Tom was beginning his first steps in the Leyland Okuda. I'm going to keep forgetting. Yeah, Leyland Okuda's, you know, young executive training program that, you know, it was the first step of these favors getting called in to put him on the correct path. And, yeah, let's just say they met in a bar. You know, May, again, she's a little serious. She's just like, you know what? I'm here. I just want to relax. I want to unwind. I want to just be with somebody tonight. And he's good enough. Does it mean more to Tom, though? Again, a 50-50 roll. 1, 2, 3 is yes. No. Okay. So he understood it for what it was. He was looking for a good time too. You know, who knows why. But so let's go to him and let's start making some notes. So what we're going to do is we're going to put different characters. So we've got, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do Doc Brown. I apologize. There might be some noises outside. We got Doc Brown. We've got Adea. We've got Dell. I'm just trying to, it's pretty early in the morning. I waited for like the garbage and recycling to go, but apparently not for whatever's going on next. We got JM, the pilot. And all I'm going to do is it's just little notes. Olivia. For what's going on between the two characters. And this can expand, contract, skip Tom. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Tom, and you'll see why in a second. And May. Okay. And I'm only going to do that because I'm going to copy and paste it over to May. I might have to stop. I don't know. So we got that for May. We don't need May on her own. We don't need Tom on his own. Let me just get this going for the others just to have it. Boom. Daya, go to her info. Boom. And then we're going to go to JM. Trick is when I'm not talking, my noise gate catches a lot of it, but I don't want to. I don't know. I got it for Tom already. We got it for May already. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do is sexual partner one night stand. Wasn't anything serious. But that is a bit of history that they have. And like I said, I'm going in like, I'm going to use all this kind of stuff, like not too many preconceived notions. I'm not going to say, I want this to be this. I'm just going to let the dice take us where they do, and we'll go from there. The problem is if I stop, I don't know when else I can record. God damn it. Why can't everybody understand that I'm trying to make something very important here? Okay. So she comes in, they, it's not that they don't remember each other, but obviously, it's like, hey, there's a little extra familiarity, especially on Tom's part, because again, he's trying to be easygoing, right? And he's like, May, it's good to see you. Maybe it's almost like he's not sure if he should give her a hug when she walks in, and she doesn't register that, and she just takes a seat, and he awkwardly like, oh, okay. And he sits back down. And he's like, May, it's good to see you again. It's been a little while. You get back to Earth much? She's like, no. She sort of just shakes her head. It's almost entirely nonverbal. And he's like, okay, all right. So we're not doing the small talk, is what he's saying in his head. And he's like, May, look, you're the security officer on board the Noctua. I really appreciate you taking this mission. Again, it's always I know we haven't kept in touch, but it's always nice to reconnect. And she's sort of looking at him a little awkwardly, like, okay. And he's like, but obviously I might have to rely upon you a little bit more than I might like, because this is my first time. This is the first mission. I'm young, and I'm hoping I can count on you to help me reinforce my authority here. Essentially, if like you could just sort of bolster my levels of respect, my authority, that'll help me out. At least until everybody sees that, like, I've got a handle on things. If you could just maybe back me up a little bit, I'd really appreciate it. And I think he's sort of hoping he can do this because, they have a little bit of a past together, so, and she's sort of nodding, and she just looks at him, and what is it again? Grim and quiet actions speak for them. Okay. And she's like, yeah, I will, as long as you don't fuck it up. Is there anything else? And he's like, oh yeah, May, man, it's great. Like, you haven't changed a bit. Again, trying to be easygoing and casual, but he's a little like, that's not what he needed to hear, because he's trying to sort of talk himself into the fact that he can do this. And she just sort of cut the legs out from under that. And he's like, okay, sure, of course, yeah, nothing else, thank you. Want to keep working on final checks, and we'll go from there. She's like, okay. So let's just do a quick look. Who else we got? We got an engineer, sensor operator, pilot, navigator. Okay, so let's go to another. Let's go to the bridge. And on the bridge, we're going to have navigator. Get rid of Tom. Apparently I didn't set all the details up on these things. Let me just make sure. Prototype token. This is Olivia, hovered by anyone. And we want to make sure we locked off the artwork rotation. So let's update token. So we've got Olivia. And then we're going to have the pilot, JM. Let me just check his prototype token. JM. Make sure we locked off his artwork rotation. There we go. So we've got JM and we've got Olivia. So they're sort of doing like flight checks, so to speak, right? They're sort of, in the bridge, they're talking things over. And now let's do a relationship roll for them. It's going to be from Olivia's point of view. Let's do that. Character, building plot, relationship table. Draw result. Again, never doing, if they're married, we're not going to do that. Lifelong friend. Okay. And that would probably... Oh, is that... Oh, okay, so there's something we can do. When you go to... let's see, building plot, is it? Or is this... What is this under? This is under building plot. Yeah, relationship table. I think there's a thing where you can sort of... Does it go both ways? So that's what I want to do. Yeah, there may come when a character's feelings might spill out into the real-world actions. Maybe the reaction roll at this point, if there's peace, blah, blah, blah. I thought there was a way to know, like, is this a one-way... Oh, you can. It's all an act, but why? Okay, so that's one of the choices here on the table, is roll again, but it's all an act. So, like, we could have gotten that, and then we could have gotten lifelong friend, so they would have been faking it for some reason. So Olivia sees JM as a lifelong friend. So let's I'm just gonna do that, and then let's just let's just get a roll for JM just to see if it helps out, and if it doesn't do anything, it doesn't do anything. Blames for a past event. I like that. So let's so maybe lifelong friend. So what I'm going to put in parentheses is the opposite, if it's different. So I have that at the ready if I ever need it. So, okay, so they're doing the checks, and maybe they were friends. Maybe like it's hard for JM to stay mad at her or something like that. But there's something is burning underneath, and maybe Olivia sometimes senses it and she doesn't quite know what's going on. But she sees JM as a lifelong friend, so she either glosses over it or, maybe it nags at her like, man, I want us to be okay because, this person's meant something to me since childhood, 1-2 since childhood, 3 through 6 a little later on. So, at some point early in their careers, what are they, 31, 34. So they could theoretically have known each other for like 10 years if they both got started around the same time, like in wherever you train to be a pilot. Survey Scout. So maybe they were part of like early Survey Scout missions together. So they've worked together, and they became close, never been romantic. But again, he blames something on her from the past. So they're running through their checks, and maybe they're talking about, what do you think of the captain? Seems a little young. Yeah, I don't know. Who his uncle had to be to get his. So that's the sort of conversation they're having, and they're going through panels, flipping switches, and every once in a while, like JM will be like, okay, let's go down this list, optics, and she's like, check, and he's like, and he just sort of engines check, he's sort of going through checklists, and all of the diagnostics are coming back fine. So that's them. Let's go to another scene. We're gonna jump to, I don't know, let's go to the mainframe. And in the mainframe, we've got, who do we've got? We're gonna have the sensor operator. Make sure I did his prototype token. Token name is not that. It's Dell. Always for anyone. And did I lock artwork? No. Update token. So let's get Dell in here. And let's also bring in the engineer, Adea. Just double check her info. Basically, I'm just using this as a way to get some baseline relationships going. I could have just, rolled them randomly and had them ready to go, but I wanted to, like that scene with Tom and May, I wanted to sort of see how it worked out. Okay, so we got Dea, we've got Dell. And so in this case, again, let's get some relationship roles going. This is going to be from Adea's point of view, because Dell's an android, so We'll do both, but we'll see how it goes. Can't be related because he's an android. So she knows, I know I was saying, so she knows a dark secret. So what we're going to do is we're going to... Dell knows a dark secret. Don't know what that is yet. And just from his point of view, let's see if he's got something. Competitive rival. I don't think that's going to be a literal thing, but let's put that down for now. Yeah, it's not going to be a literal interpretation of that. So let's but we'll keep it there and we'll figure out how to make something like that work. We don't know Dell, so this is going to be Dea. Competitive rival. The opposite is knows a dark secret. I wonder if I should... Well, whatever. So the way I'm probably going to work with this is because, again, he's sort of charged with putting the company's stuff above all else. Did I fuck this up? I'm looking over. It doesn't matter. It's not that important. It's just, it doesn't matter. It's not that important. Sometimes I use OBS. Sometimes I use vMix. vMix has a lot of good things going for it, but for me, and maybe it's because of my lack of familiarity, it's a lot easier for me to screw up. And I think I did. Let me see if I can... Because what I think I wanted to do... Maybe I didn't screw it up the way I thought I did. It's very, it's a lot more complicated. So you have to pay more attention, which is not a bad thing. You know, it's more complicated, in theory, more powerful. I'm looking now at where my face is. I thought it was going to be somewhere different on the screen. It's actually not that important. I just don't know if I positioned it correctly beforehand, but it's okay. It's not like I forgot to unmute my mic or something dumb like that. Okay, so we've got a competitive rival. The way I see that is maybe he's concerned that she, being a more technical person, is going to understand when he's putting the company first and may try and counteract that, may try and, play into the, shouldn't be doing any harm to humans kind of thing when he has like this override that nobody's supposed to know about, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe that's what's going on. And, so maybe their interactions, maybe Adea is not, you're supposed to, in theory, most people treat androids like people. They say, thank you, please. But there's a coldness to it because you can't forget the fact that the person you're standing next to is not really a person. So in some level, right? In some level, they know they're a machine. And so she's being a little extra formal and being a little, very perfunctory, like, how the mission, and again, no small talk because what's the point, at least in her mind. And, Dell, is programmed to pick up on these sort of social interaction, these social cues, but, he's like, okay. And so they're sort of figuring things out. And, see, again, this is a relatively new ship on maybe its first voyage with a new crew getting assembled. And everything's checking out because, in theory, actually, let's do that. So there's something called a crisis roll. And 1 through 6, it's D6. On a 1, there's something that goes wrong. So let's Let's roll that to see if anything goes wrong. 3, nope. Okay, let's see if anything goes wrong back in the last scene with the pilot. 2, no. Okay, so far everything is checking out. Everything seems to be functioning just fine. All right, so we've got that going on. And then finally, let's go back to the galley really quickly, because I probably should have, for May, and I guess we don't need to be here. Let me just roll for May a relationship roll. Lifelong friend's not going to work for the captain. Secretly jealous. I do think that works. So what we're going to do for May is we're going to do secretly jealous. And that completely makes sense, right? So there we go for that. Let's get Tom back up here. Where's Tom? Not that May wants to be a captain of a mission, but how can you not be like secretly jealous when, you know, some, you know, family connected corporate douchebag just get handed the keys to something so promising, and you've had to, you know, grind your way through every single thing. So now let's go to the sick bay, and we're going to bring up Doc Brown. Again, I can't do it from here. Get Doc Brown going, see if I did the token wrong. I did. Let's correct that really quickly. Doc. And the only reason why I was going into that whole crap about like, oh, did I screw this up, is because I need to, in my head, I'm aware of where my dumb face is on the screen, so I try not to put stuff there. And basically right now it's just blocking my list of scenes, you know, so it's not like you're missing anything important, but I thought it was going to be right above this lower thing here and out of the way. Anyway, so we've got Doc Brown, and let's just do a relationship roll for her. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're just going to do a D6 and see which one this might apply to. It applies to May. Okay. Let's get a roll going. I should probably put this one on every single tab. Share a secret past incident. Okay. Let's get that going. Share a secret past incident. Okay, let's get May up here. I won't roll the reverse yet. We don't know. So, we'll figure that out when the time comes. Share a secret past incident. So they've clearly worked together before. May might not even know that they share the secret incident. You know, it might be something that Doc knows about May that maybe May's not aware that she knows. So there we go. So we've got some of that going. Okay, so I feel like what we've done is we've sort of introduced the characters. We've gotten a little bit of their relationships to other people on the crew. So let's start the process. How long has this been going? With solo sessions, I don't want to make them run quite as long as a normal session, just to help me out a little bit. Whether it's my voice going or, you know, when I recorded at weird times like now. Luckily, the banging has stopped, though, for the time being. So what we're going to do is we're going to start going through checklists. Let's see. Solo rules, resolution, roll tables, building plot, map notes, reference. here we go. Shipping campaign checklist. Now, if you remember, for some reason, and I don't know why, PDFs don't rescale properly. You know, if I bring up crew expendable and I try and rescale it, so what I did is I made this to get around that a JPEG. So you've got a basic campaign checklist, right? We've created the 7 characters. And then I spent some time establishing some baseline relationships, which it doesn't necessarily say you're supposed to do, but it's just to help me get started. And now we're going to roll for a mission. So let's bring this up. Campaign. We've got shipping missions. Here we go. Let's draw some results. This is what our mission's going to be. Locate and salvage a derelict starship in a remote star system. Okay. I'm going to... Where am I going to do this? Again, you're supposed to keep mission logs, so what I might do is... Yeah, let me create a mission log. Call this the DSF Noctua mission log. And we're going to create a folder. I don't want to create a folder. I want to create an entry. Mission log, okay. And so we're going to make mission 01. What did I say it was? Locate and salvage a... Okay, mission. A derelict starship. Derelict star ship in a remote star system. Fair enough. Okay. So let's figure out where. Location. So we're gonna go back to the star map. Let's activate that really quickly. I'm gonna pop this out so I can still see it, but you won't. I'm gonna pop this out. Let's just get rid of all this for the time being. So here we've got the hostile star map. So basically we can go to any one of these sectors. Now, I think it's going to be... I don't think we're going deep. Not yet. This is going to be like an outer rim. So what I'll do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, it's the Capella extraction zone. 3, 4, it's in the new concession zone in the outer rim. 5, 6, it's going to be in the Fomalhaut settlement zone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so let me roll those dice. We're getting a 3. So that means we're going to the new concessions zone. So let's bring up that map and let's get a little bit more detail. Setting new concession zone. Let's activate that. Let's configure that so it ends up in the navigation permanently. Okay, so here we are. We've got the new concession zone. Now the outer rim is going to sort of be the left half of this map if you sort of cut it from bottom left corner to upper right corner. So where is it going to be? What I'm going to do is, so basically it's going to be one of the first 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the first 4 columns of hexes. So I'm just going to roll a d4. It's 3, so we're going to be in the 300 column. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm only going to go down 6 because, again, it's sort of only the top upper left quadrant is the 2. 1, 2. Okay, so what we're going to do is our derelict ship was last reported in hex 0302. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a marker there, like a note. If I can remember how to do it. So, okay, so let's go back to map notes. I'm going to make a subfolder. I'm going to call no, I'll just make a another entry, and we'll call these call this missions. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put like derelict ship. Now there are tables here for ship names. I'm gonna use those in just a second. I probably should have used that first. So let's get that going. Randomized interiors and counter tables, is that part of it? Ship reactions, no. Is it part of campaigns? It might be. Shipping missions, no. Building plot. Somewhere there's like an ship names. Okay, is it... What did we say this was? We said it was it was a locate and salvage a derelict starship. Okay, is it commercial exploration mining U.S. Space Command? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So just gonna roll a D4. We got a 4. So it's a U.S. Space Command. So let's so it's some kind of military. I think the military would handle that. So let's do 1, 2, 3. So I'm gonna roll a D6. A 1. So it's a commercial ship. The Lady Luck. Okay. Okay. This is all screwed up. So here's what we're gonna do. Derelict ship. Lady Luck. And we are going to now drag, if I can, get this out of the way. Can I drag this onto the map? I can. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change, again, you can only go down icon 32. I'm going to change this. I'm going to go to systems. I'm going to go to 2D6, assets, icons, take a look at the picture. Is there anything here for ship? I'm going to choose that icon. Okay, so we got a derelict ship, Lady Luck. So that's going to be in 302. That's where we're going. So let's say that it was trying to get to Congress and lost, signal went dark there in just, like basically 1 parsec away. It was en route. Maybe it was coming from Serpentine to Congress, and something happened, lost contact in 0302. So let me just jot down mission log, location. Locate and salvage a derelict starship. Say ship name, Lady Luck. Commercial ship. Location is Fomalhaut 0302. So that's where we're going. Okay, so we can put that away. So let's go back to the main star map. So we're starting in Hamilton, which... Oh, you know what? That's Tau Ceti. Okay, so that's... Yeah, this is part of the thing. This is a star map. It's not like the same planetary map. So let's go back to near Earth zone. So we're starting in Hamilton. So we're not that far from Fomalhaut. Well, it's still going to be jumping into hyperspace. So we're basically going to go one sort of main larger map hex over, and then we're going to go I think I might have this wrong. It's not from, that's if you go north. It's new concession zone, not, I have this wrong. So let me just fix that really quickly. New concession zone, hex 0302. So we'll say commercial ship traveling from Serpentine, traveling to, maybe we don't know where it's from, traveling to Congress in 0402, lost signal. Okay, so that's what we're going to say. That's going to be the mission. So we've got that. So let's get the checklist back. Okay. So we've got roll for a mission. Does a character have a stake in the mission? So what we do is we roll a 9 or higher on 2d6. So I think I just have this here. There's nope, nobody has any special stake in it. It's not like there's a family member on board that, may have gone missing. So then it's like randomly create colony in that star system now, or wait until step 15. Now, I'm not sure we're going to have to do that because, if we show the map here, there is no star. What that is there's two things you can do. The book gives you the Hostile Solo book, gives you some very simple, useful tables to roll up. Like, say we wanted to go to Congress. We could just say, okay, quickly, what's the atmosphere? You can sort of create that code, so to speak, that we translate and get an idea of what the planet's like. But if you have the hostile setting book, you can use that to fill in star systems. And so when I was showing you like this information here, E774295-C, that's the code for Congress. So if we put that into the translator, we're going to get, it's a frontier installation, essentially a marked spot of bedrock with no fuel facilities or bases present. Diameter, it's big in size, atmosphere. So all this information, there's a gas giant present in the system. That's all taken from the setting book. So I won't need to randomize the locations. But if you wanted to, or if you didn't have the setting book, the tools are there to, or if you just was like, I just want it to be different. That's okay. So again, that's 4 parsecs. So each hex is a parsec. So eventually we're going to be coming in, making our way to 302. Okay, so randomly create a colony. Okay, we don't need to do that. Select one character as your primary focus. Roll a spotlight for that character as a pre-mission event or situation. Okay. You know what I should do? Let me create a roll table. Hostile Solo. I'll do this real quick because I might need to randomly generate, and it's not always going to be so easy as a 1 through 6 because there's 7 characters. So let's just building plot. Call it random crew member. And what we're going to do is it's going to be a weird roll. It's going to be a 1d7. One thing I learned when I was sort of prepping this is there's a lot of D66 tables in this book, which make total sense when you're rolling with dice. But in a VTT, I find it's better to actually make it a 1d36 because then the VTT can interpret modifiers to that roll, if that makes sense. So like if you want a D66 roll, but you want to have a -3, it'll roll a 51 and give you like a 48 or something. It'll do something like that. Or, you could roll a 47 and it'll turn it to a 49. So it doesn't quite register the D66 part with modifiers. So I just ended up switching them all to 1d36s so that it could work. Okay, so we've got a random crew member. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to go to building plot, and I'm going to add to that this table, just so I have it ready to go. Save entry, roll table. Now we've got a random crew member. So let's see who we get. Draw result. Doc Brown is going to have a spotlight. So a spotlight is just giving them a moment to when there's some downtime, something like that, it's just to give them some kind of moment. So we've got the checklist. Can't put it behind my dumb face because, again, that's what I misremembered. Okay, so select one character as a primary focus, roll a spotlight for that character as a pre-mission event. So let's see if there's a table for spotlights. Campaigns. I don't recall if there is. I've got the PDF open here. Let me just do a quick search. Spotlight. After relationships, confrontations, and reactions, the fourth method of surprising yourself is via the spotlight. Okay, 2 inspiration words are rolled randomly and combined together to create this moment. Okay, so we've got the building plot. Do I have inspiration tables? I do. 2 inspiration words are rolled and randomly. Okay, let's take a look at this table just to get an idea of how it's gonna. Okay, so there's 2 tables. Let's see how these work. So they're gonna have lists. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll it twice, and it's gonna give me a list of 4 things, but some of them aren't gonna be relevant, and you'll see in a second. So we're gonna draw a result. Personnel, abnormal, selfish, and we're gonna do a second result. Or do we? Okay, you select 2 of the inspiration tables that seem relevant or catch your eye that are presented in the next. Okay, combining these words might reveal something she's doing. Okay, so let's just take these. We're supposed to combine some of these words. Now, I don't know why this one only has. Maybe the second table only has 3 per. Okay. Personnel, crashed, Android. And selfish. Okay. So yeah, the checks are going pretty well, but as we saw, Doc Brown was sort of a little bit off on her own in the med bay, doing her own thing while other people were pairing up. As much as you could say Tom and May were pairing up for their brief encounter where she's like, whatever, man. And so Doc Brown is by herself, and she's maybe sort of checking through all of the personnel records, just like getting an idea psych profile wise, like, okay, who are we working with here? Who do I think is going to be trying to anticipate something, right? So she's trying to get ahead of it, just trying to do her homework a little bit, trying to over prepare for the personalities and the conflicts she thinks she might have to deal with on this sort of maiden voyage of a new crew. She's been around the block. As we know, she's older, she's experienced. She's been in the new crew situation before, and so she's like, there can be some bumps getting started. And she stops and she looks at. She's watching Dell. She's looking at Dell. And for her, there is no psych evaluation in that sense. He's an android, right? Like, we get a psych evaluation to give us some context clues, but she doesn't get that. She's sort of looking it over, and she's like, okay, all right, okay. But she doesn't trust Dell. Maybe again, part of her experience is that she's been around the block long enough to have seen like a couple of series of androids. She's seen the iPhone 10, 11, and 12 come out, and she remembers when the 10 would overheat, and so it's that kind of thing. And so she's sort of thinking to herself, like, one, I don't know if I trust this guy entirely, and 2, I need to keep my distance. So let's mark that down a little bit for Doc. That's her selfishness. She's like, I don't want to interact with him, so I'm going to not consider him quite the same equal when I'm doing my job. I'm going to distance myself from and if something happens to him a little bit. Like, I'm not going to not do my job. I'm just, whenever I can, I don't want to interact with him. So let's just put that. We'll put selfishly, because again, I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but maybe that adverb will help at some point. We'll selfishly keep distance. Putting it in the wrong line, so let's put that for Dell. From him. Okay. And now we don't know anything like to reciprocate, so we'll just put bum bum bum. And then we'll... can I just... Yeah. Okay. So that's sort of the little moment she has before the thing. As they're doing final checks, you're hearing Tom over the intercom saying, crew, man, I can't believe I get to say this, but this is your captain, Tom. Maybe it should have been Major Tom, but it's Captain Tom. And looking forward to working with all of you. I've met some of you already. I'm glad we've had a little bit of face-to-face time. A few of you I've known for a while. Some of you I'm meeting for the first time with this mission. But I'm excited. And it's kind of like finger guns, that kind of speech. Finger guns, the, pep talk. And I'm looking forward to this mission. And so if everybody can meet in the galley, we can go over some of the details. And and we'll start working this out. I'm getting words coming in soon what the mission's going to be. So let's all meet. And so everybody sort of, I'm going to again pop this out. Everybody sort of like makes their way to the galley. So we got the dock. We've got, again, the dock keeps her a distance from Dell, the pilot, captain. Who am I missing? Do I got Olivia out here? I don't. Okay. So the captain sort of, he's got sort of like a hard copy readout of the details. And he's like, look, again, I want to thank all of you. I promise, like, your trust isn't misplaced. And May's kind of like rolling her eyes a little bit, but Tom doesn't catch it. And he's like, but unfortunately, we're going to start on a tough note. Our first mission is commercial freighter, Lady Luck. In the new concession zone, signal's broken. Haven't heard anything from the ship in well past when it should have checked in. Oops, I didn't fix Doc Brown there. There we go. Well past when it should have checked in on its way to Congress. Hasn't checked in. And the company is fearing the worst. Leyland Okuda's fearing the worst. And so we've been tasked with, until we know different, we've been tasked with a search and rescue. Did I not fix this? I thought I fixed all of them. I might not have needed to move her. Let's see. Doc Brown. Appearance. Did I just lock? Update token. Okay, let's get her off and let's get her back on. There we go. Okay. And so you can sort of see, like, everybody's face just kind of gets a little grim. Again, Tom's like trying to, like, hey, finger guns hope. Finger guns don't get grim. Like, we don't know until we know. But everybody's, been around the block a little bit more than Tom. And so, especially Doc Brown, she's like, okay. And it's sort of all their faces, except for Dell. Dell just remains expressionless either way. And but everybody else kind of gets like a, okay. It's sort of like that heartbreaking thing. Just like, because, but for the grace of God, it could have been your ship, that kind of thing. There's so many ways you can die in space. And I think that's even mentioned in Hostiles. One of the books is, I think that's the case. So, space is deadly. So again, it's just one of those things where, like, as soon as the ship loses contact, people who are in the know just automatically go to the worst place, and they can't help it, you know. And it just brings this sort of empathy of just like, oh, these poor bastards. Yeah, you know, we hope, you know, inside they're like, we hope, sure, we hope, we always hope. You never want the worst. But a number of people, especially May, especially Doc Brown, sort of just automatically go to that darker place. And maybe Olivia, you know, who is comically pessimistic and paranoid. Maybe she makes a joke like, hey, it's a hell of a way to quit, right? You know, like, just take the ship and go. And everybody's like, you know, but it, the joke doesn't quite land. And so she's like wondering, because she's paranoid, you know, she's like, well, shit, did the ship just break up? Like, or like, you know, we've got a new ship. Hasn't been sort of road tested, you know, like with new airplanes, they put them through a lot of testing to make sure they're okay. But it's like, we've got a new ship. We don't know what's going to break down. You know, and so she starts, her head spinning. You know, like, you know, is JM up to the task? Like, you know, just everything goes, a day seems experienced, but, you know, you know, maybe who knows what's going to go on. Has she really checked the ship? Has she had time to check the ship? So Olivia is sort of spinning herself up a little bit. And Adea sort of is like, kind of nods, you know, talks tough, but is scared inside. She's like, okay, so we're going to need, you know, I'll make sure we have the equipment on hand to get into the ship. You know, we might need to do some kind of like soft dock. You know, I'm just making up words, but, you know, we might have to go like airlock to airlock. You know, we might have to figure out what's going on. So she starts like, you know, and I'll make sure we've got that checked out, Captain. And, you know, Tom gives her a nod. And Doc, you know, sort of looks, and she's like, yeah, you know, and I'll set up, make sure that we have sick bay ready to go, you know, sort of set up for sort of a she starts to say like mass casualty, and she just for like an extended triage, you know, and maybe, and she turns to Adea and May. And what does Dell do? Dell is the sensor operator. So she's like, you know, maybe, and she's looking around the room. She looks at Dell and she knows that Dell could help, but she sort of looks away for a second. And she's like, you know, look, JM, Olivia, I know you guys are going to be getting us there. You know, Tom, you're going to be overseeing everything, but May and Adea, if you can maybe help me rig up some things in the cargo bay to, you know, handle any, you know, like large number of survivors. Maybe we can, you know, do what we can to get that prepped ahead of time. And they're like, yeah, they all nod. And Tom's like, sounds good. It sounds like, and he's like, you know, it sounds like, you know, we've got a good first couple of steps to get this under control. Realizing, you know, he hasn't actually done anything, you know. Everybody else has sort of, through their experience, been like, okay, I think we're gonna need to do this. Okay, we're gonna need to do that. And he's just sort of nodded and say, you know, as you were, you know. So he's trying to display leadership. He's not really. Everybody sort of just walked over him a little bit. Okay, so that's gonna be. So we have sort of like our. So it's like, okay, so if JM and Olivia, if you can start working out the details of the flight plan, you know, we'll figure that out. And so they nod, and I'll just tell you, like, I'm getting towards the end of this session. I'm gonna probably, if I remember to do it, I'm gonna start the next session figuring out the details of the flight plan. So I'm just saying that now, hoping that let me jot that down. I'll jot that down afterwards. But yeah, that's because I want to go through that in some bit of detail. So let's do a starport encounter, and then we'll pick up the second session with planning the flight and takeoff. So we'll do that. But let's do a starport encounter just before we wrap this up, just to see what those are like. Starport encounter. Let's go back up. Yeah, again, I should put journal. Where's my roll tables? Roll tables. I should put that on like every single one. So let's do a starport encounter. I don't know if that's a encounter table. Starport encounter. Let's see. Draw result. Okay. So it says port personnel confuse you with someone else. Roll 1d6, not a 1, 2, 3. It's good. 4 through 6, it's bad. A quick ID check should sort it out. And so maybe while we're still in port, now that we know the mission, maybe Doc is like, okay, we're also going to need, we're going to oversupply ourselves with medical supplies. Fingers crossed that, we're going to be needing to take people in. We're going to need extra food stores. So you start to realize we're going to need to change our, now we know what we need sort of on board the ship. So again, we're going to pick a random crew member. It'll be Doc. Okay. 1 through 3, it's good. 4 through 6, it's bad. 2. Okay. Let's use, okay, so Doc goes on to the station, maybe with May and Adea, the people she was calling out to help her get set up. So they go to the station and they start, adjusting supplies and getting more stuff on board the ship. And let's try an inspiration table just to see, give us any indication of what this bad encounter could be. Clash. Debt. Okay. Just so you know, I haven't had to use it yet. I'm always going to keep Starforge ready to go. Just in case, because there's just so many oracles to go through. So if I ever feel like I don't know if I'm getting what I need, I don't know. Like what we could figure out is like, who is this person? It's a navigator or an outcast. Okay, let's go with an outcast. Okay, so we're on board the space station here at Hamilton. And yeah, Doc, Adea, and May are there. They're all, checking in with different, requisition desks at the Leyland Okuda, supply centers, trying to say like, okay, here's what we're going to need. This is the mission. They're trying to go through the thing. And maybe May and Doc are together. And all of a sudden, somebody, maybe they're sort of near the front gate of like this office and, and somebody something grabs Doc's shoulder and spins her around. And he just starts like, oh, I can't believe you had the nerve to show up here. And he gets right in her face and gets very threatening. And May goes into battle mode a little bit. So let's do a brawling check. So the way checks work in this game is that you're always trying to beat an 8. Brawling is going to be Dex. She's not going to use her physical trait. She's not big. So she's going to be more like a Aikido Krav Maga kind of like lock your elbow and snap it kind of person. And so she rolls a 5. So it's a sum effect of -2. So she rolled a 5. She gets a +1 for having a high dex. So it's a sum of -2. So the way things work here is resolution. I can show you sort of the idea. Like there is combat, but again, I'm not going to kill myself with that kind of stuff. But so when you have a task resolution, you sort of have interpreting success or failure. There's sort of like a chart here. And if you know anything about 2d6 systems, there's something called effect. Effect is how much did you beat or how much did you miss the target number by? GURPS has something like this where it matters how much the roll is off by. So we had a -2. So is she able to get this person off of Doc Brown? The answer is no. A simple default no answer. You can see there's no and, no buts. There's a range of options here you can get. But we got a simple no. So she tries to disengage this person from Doc Brown, and maybe she's doing it in a way where she's not trying to escalate. She's like, hey pal, you need to step away from, and he sort of throws her off in a way that she's like, she's a little surprised by, but she wasn't going into full tactical battle mode here. And so Doc is getting really worked up. What's Doc's psych evaluation? She's optimistic, right? She's a half full kind of girl, optimistic and determined. And she's like, so she doesn't lose her cool. She's very much like, sir, like, I feel like you have me mistaken for somebody. And he's like, no. He's like, back on Tau Ceti, we had a deal and you told me you were going to bring me. And she's like, seriously, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's going back and forth and he's like, no. Listen, I don't forget these things. And that's when Doc Brown starts to realize this guy might be some kind of drug addict. And so like his pupils are a little off. And she's not sure what he's on, but could be an hallucination, just could be like, who knows what's going on chemically in his brain. And so she's starting to push back. She's like, look, sir, like, and she's trying to look over her shoulder to the Leyland Okuda, and she's like, you going to do anything about this? And so they pick up the phone and they're like, oh, we're going to need a security detail to something. So this is starting to escalate a little bit, and May sort of, recovers, and she's like, I'm going to give this another shot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her, first of all, let's change her brawling to permanently be Dex modifier, just so I don't have to keep doing that. Let's set that up. And what we're going to do is we're going to give her a +1, because there's a lot of things happening now that are going to help her. So I'm going to call it like a chain assist, but I'm not going to... Usually what I would do is I would roll something else. Like I could roll her skills of liaison, right? 4. So that if she succeeded, she could get a +1 that way. I think that's how an assist works. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her a +1 because there's a lot of things sort of building up so that he's not really paying attention to her anymore. To May. Let's see if she can do it. 8. Okay, so she gets it. She barely gets it. Sum 8, effect 0. So if we were to go back to resolution. Yes, but the answer is yes, but there's a negative twist to the answer. So I can pop that out probably. Okay, so she gets control of whoever this person is. But maybe she, in trying to control him physically, lock his arm, like she pops his shoulder, dislocates his shoulder, and he goes like down in pain, and he just starts screaming, and he's clearly unhinged, and he's like, oh man, yeah, if I ever see you again, you're dead, you're fucking dead. He's just totally losing it. And by this point, like Leyland Okuda's security show up and start picking him up and getting ready to drag him out of the office. And he's like, I want to talk to the cops. I want to press charges against that bitch. I want her fucking dead. I don't understand. Like she just broke my arm, and you're going to let me, just throw me out. And so they just drag him. Who knows if they even take him to the hospital? Let's find out. 1, 2, 4. Yeah, so they do. 1 through 4, they do. Yeah, again, about version 13. I like that they give you the thing here so you don't always have to go back to the chat. So they start taking him to the hospital, and sort of the leader of the security detail looks at May, and he just says, there's gonna be a little extra paperwork because of what you did to his arm. And she's like, yeah, no, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. That's not what I meant to happen. And he's like, I know. He was out of control. Obviously something's up. I get it. I'm just glad nobody was hurt. But just watch what you're doing when you're, can't just go snapping people's arms. Just like, yeah, you're right. I get it. So yeah, that's the starport encounter. So yeah, so they, after a little while, everything is worked out. They get the supplies that they think they're going to need on board, just in case it is a search and rescue and not a recovery. And yeah, they get back on board the ship, and that's where we'll fade to black. We'll pick it up next time, planning the flight and taking off and getting out there. So yeah, I think this was a lot of fun. I'm very curious to see how a lot of these things happen in practice, using, as much as I can, just the resources available in the Hostile Solo book. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'm having a great time so far. I hope this was interesting. And I didn't want to I could have just started right away going straight to the checklist, right? But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give myself a little bit to work with. And again, I don't feel like that's how it would work, right? You would start by, working out some details. Who are these people? How do they know each other? Because I came in cold, and I feel like the game did a decent job trying to set that up. So, but like a lot of these things, like it is, as much as you can bring to the table, right? It's not going to spoon feed you all the things when you have like these Oracle kind of systems. You gotta be willing to really fill in a lot of the cracks, sometimes with a lot of spackle, but that's part of the fun, right? And one of the things I'm really curious to see is something that might come up when maybe we get to the ship. And it's sort of they have this way to resolve a scene, which is you sort of roll the outcome first. You don't sort of go through it. You sort of roll the general outcome, and then you sort of go back in time a little bit and explain how you got to that outcome to create the story. So anyway, yeah, thanks again for checking this out. We're Black Lodge Trivia Night. Obviously, we are an actual play tabletop RPG podcast. There's audio versions of this kind of stuff. If you prefer, just search for Black Lodge wherever you get your audio. We should show up. Leave likes and reviews or whatever, wherever you get your audio. Like and subscribe here. You've already found our YouTube channel if you're watching it. If this is your thing, yeah, like and subscribe. We've got some CRPG stuff going on, if that's also your thing. And otherwise, yeah, hopefully we'll get Matt and Patrick, get all three of us back together, get some component of the three of us back together at some point soon. Again, this is always more fun with the guys. But I hope this was enjoyable. I had a great time, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where this is going. So thanks again. Take care. The in-session music was provided by Tabletop RPG Music and composed by Ian Fisher. You can find the Patreon at www.patreon.com/tabletop RPG music. That's all one word.